Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Andy Cortez contacting you live from Valencia, California. And I want to go over a couple things for the next governor that might be running for office, Republican. The first thing I'd like to start off with is lowering the fuel prices. We need to find a way to repeal the fuel taxes so we're not spending $2 to $2.50 just in taxes and fees. The second thing I'd like to be able to do is lower income taxes down to zero for state income taxes for the state of California, and or heighten the limits on gross income taxation for your limitations for annual income. I'll get into that a little bit later on. And benefits for illegal aliens, of course. No more housing or medical. They don't need to be in here. And then make sure that we pass voter ID and laws and regulations. So that's paramount. We need to make sure that our elections are secure. The next thing I'd like to do is lower prices on electricity. They've gone up by 350%. Bring back our national and state parks in the state of California. I think that they need to be revamped and redone. They're way overdue. Our national parks and our state parks are just atrocious right now. Get the homeless people off the streets. That's the other thing that we need to do. I think that we can repurpose prisons, old hospitals, and barracks for homeless people to re-educate them and or provide medical for the homeless that are out there, whether they're veterans or they're not. I think that that's the smartest thing that we need to be looking at right now at this particular point in time. There's a lot of great things that California can do when they put their heads to it, and I think that it will benefit our economy greatly. The other thing that I would also like to see us do is to remove any foreign companies that might be in charge of our toll road fees to make sure that no, politicians are getting kickbacks from any of these toll road companies that are out there. So transparency needs to come to the state of California. We need to know where all of our money's going at all times. I think that that's another thing that we need to do is open up a station of education and transparency for the public that shows how our money is being used in the state of California. So there's no more secrecy surrounding that. And then the other thing I think that there needs to be done is there needs to be open lines of communication wherever it may be, whether it's a citizen, whether it's a politician, whether it's a policeman, fireman, whatever the situation is. I think there needs to be a channel for open discussion. So if the firemen are stating that they need water in their fire hydrants, or if the policemen are saying they need better munitions to be able to keep up with something, or if they say that there's an issue with fentanyl on the streets of Oxnard or the streets of San Diego, obviously it makes people aware of what's happening out there in their state or in their country. So there's a lot of big things that we can do in the state of California. I think there's a lot of amazing things that we can do in the state of California if we put our heads to it. But the big idea is to have the open line of communication and the forum to be able to talk about it. Once that's done, and we make it that's the norm, then I think at that particular point in time, more things will get solved. So what happens for me is I'm not afraid to speak out. But there are people that have $50 million in their bank accounts that don't want to speak out because they're worried about whether or not they might lose their money because they're afraid of, loss. So their greed keeps them from speaking out even though they really want to. So that's not freedom of speech. That's being held ransom by your own riches, which is terrible. The other thing is that the uneducated people that are out there, they typically stand to think that because they're uneducated or because they're a minority, that they shouldn't speak out because their voice doesn't matter or it's not going to be heard. But I think that everybody in the state of California that's a citizen, their opinions are very important. And I think that what happens is as we have different forums that are opened up in the state of California for transparency, we can find out if the water's bad in San Diego, in the harbor, or in the reservoirs. We can find out if there's no water in the reservoirs in the Palisades, so there's open communication there. And then we can also find out if there's places that need to be trimmed for bushes or shrubbery, so that way we can make sure that there's no fires in those particular areas. There's a lot of things that California can do if they put their minds to it. We could put the youth to work as far as clearing shrubbery and brush in a lot of cities and counties around California. So that's a way for them to make income. We can educate our youth on how to trade stocks and electronic currencies, because that's not just the New York thing. That could be a California thing too. And we can educate our people to make millions and millions of dollars on the stock market. So there's all this type of stuff. There's all this technology that's out there. And I think that as we progress and as we become better as a nation and we start to look through the windshield instead of the rearview mirror, we're going to make things better for California and also for the United States of America. But I think big things are on the way. I think a Republican governor is going to be exactly what the state of California needs. And I think a Republican governor is going to want to instill a lot of these winning ideas into the state of California and into the United States of America, because California is an amazing state. There's 38 million people, soon to be 40 million people in the state of California, and there's a lot of things that we can do. The other thing that we also need to do is we need to make affordable housing. So what we need to do is either repurpose the barracks that are available on all these military bases and allow young people to be able to go in there and live in those barracks at a discounted price tag as they're coming up and they're going through their education process through college or whether they're working. I think there's all kinds of barracks that are across the United States of America, whether it's in New Jersey or whether it's in California. I took a trip to San Francisco the other day, and there's all these beautiful barracks that are just abandoned at the Presidio in San Francisco that I think that they could repurpose and have them made for, younger people to be able to go in there and rent them out. So there's a lot of different ideas that are available. We just have to open our minds to it and make the world a better place and heal our nation and heal our youth and start to make sure that they understand that they can be empowered to make their future better. It all starts here, right in the mind, right in between the eyes. Yep, that's where it starts. And then we make a world a better place, one day at a time.